infiltrated Battleground Texas in Houston. Ronnie's not her real name, and she is not a deputized registrar. Emma Bauer works for Battleground Texas and was Ronnie's main contact in the organization.
I'm not deputized, but there was a point where, we were in a group, and so anyway, there was a point where somebody handed me a voter registration card, and so I don't know how it happened, but I accidentally signed some people up, and wasn't thinking. That's okay. And
I mean, it's illegal, but yes, I understand.
Yeah, okay.
Now, to be clear, Ronnie has just informed her superiors that she registered voters, but was not legally deputized to do so.
Do you still have the forms?
I do not.
Okay. Do you know where they went?
No, I do not.
Okay. Did your name get signed to a form?
We didn't, turned in cards, and so I said, I just kind of threw them out.
Okay.
And so I don't know if that's a problem or...
That is a problem in the sense that we are not allowed to do that.
Ronnie upped the ante by telling Emma that some of the registration forms she filled out she later destroyed because Ronnie had a problem with the people she had registered.
You can't refuse to register someone to vote simply because their views differ from your own.
Ronnie didn't actually register people to vote, nor did she destroy any registration forms. But the people at Battleground certainly seemed to believe she had. When she told the story to a more senior Battleground operative, Sam Krause, he also knew it was wrong and quite possibly illegal.
Hey, I wanted to talk to you about something. The thing about it is, a couple weeks ago, there was a voter registration drive. It was at a park on the west side. But anyway, long story short, I accidentally signed up some people that, without having some deputization. Also, there was another thing, too. There were some people that were kind of giving me a hard time to kind of toss those in the trash. Regrettably, it was voter registration. Correct.
You know where they are?
They're gone.
The lesson is that you never fill out voter registration.
Well, of course, yeah, and I know that, but, I'm being upfront about it.
You gotta,
but she said...
get deputized.
It's probably a little late for that, but I guess the motto at Battleground Texas is, better late than never.
I went ahead and talked to Sam.
Oh,
and he said, what we were talking about earlier, and he said that, for right now, we're just going to kind of leave it alone.
We're going to follow Sam. As long as it's not on me, we're going to follow. I'm all good with that. I am all good with that.
Stan Stannard is the Harris County clerk. He says that if someone knew that voters had been illegally registered or registration forms destroyed, they should have reported it.
So when they don't, the state must come down on people who do not follow the law. We will have them investigated by the DA. If there's anything in dealing with elections that I think is wrong, I'm going to turn it over to the DA to be investigated.
So the consequences would be you would turn that over to the DA?
Correct, yes.
We wanted to know if Battleground Texas had reported the alleged improprieties to election officials. So we went to Sam Krause's apartment one morning last week.
Who's this?
This is James O'Keefe with Project Veritas.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't talk right now. I'm still getting ready for the day.
You were told recently by an operative Battleground Texas that they improperly registered voters and even ripped up the forms. So did you report that conduct to the county or to law enforcement? That's all I need to know. I'm sorry, was that a yes? You said yes or no? Sam? I guess you didn't report it? Okay. Thank you. Hey Sam, James O'Keefe, Project Veritas. How you doing today?
Can you get off my property?
Sure will. Did you report that illegal activity to the county or to law enforcement officials?
Hey, I'm going to call the police if you don't get off this property.
We're public property right here. Sam did not call the police. Sam Krause did not answer our question, which leads me to believe that he did not report the illegal conduct to Texas officials.
Yeah, and those are the people who are the largest backing Political Action Committee supporting good old Wendy Davis. So think about that, folks. Not only that did she do that, but she also, when she was on the city council in Fort Worth, she supported getting TEF funds for a store or a chain of stores to move to the area and open up things in the area. And she worked for the title company that brokered the deal to bring that company into Texas and set them up with their land and get them their where they ended up building and everything. So by that company getting the TEF funds, it enabled that deal to be sealed so that she could get her make her quota or get her salary or whatever the case might be. She directly profited from the TEF funds that she lobbied for and supported being given to that company, which raises a lot of eyebrows. And she refused to answer the allegations that Abbott raised about that during their little debate, which was quite interesting. Although she did try to toss allegations towards Abbott over what he did as far as the TEF funds were concerned and the administration, etc. And he did everything within the laws and guidelines of the legislation that was passed. That Davis was one of the legislators involved in elements of the reforms of the TEF later on when they were reformed. And Abbott was one of the people who lobbied for many of those reforms as well when he said, hey, there's the oversight on this is really loose and it's too vague. You might need to change this a little bit and make it a little bit more or less of a, I forget the exact way to phrase it, but make it more common sense with more restrictions on it to make it less open for corruption is probably a good way to put it. And that was one of the things that Abbott actually pushed for, and yet Davis was there trying to get the TEF funds for that one company. And she, of course, claims it's because it created jobs, and that's what she was all about, was the working man and woman. She ain't about the working anything. She's about her own pockets. She always has been. If she was about the working man and woman, she wouldn't have had her ex-husband pay her Harvard degree for her Harvard law degree, and then turn around and divorce him as soon as he finished paying that off. She's not in it for the working person. She's in it for her own gain, what she can get for nothing. Also, speaking about Texas here, yesterday we talked about this. There was a suspected case of Ebola that popped up with a patient showing up to a Presbyterian hospital in Dallas. Well, folks, that suspected case of Ebola has been confirmed. It is Ebola. We have a case of Ebola breaking out here in the U.S. Now, the patient had recently visited Liberia and had actually returned from Liberia on the 24th of September and was all fine and symptom-free. However, if he had a blood test looking for Ebola, he probably would have come up hot, but didn't have any symptoms, and they didn't surface until a couple of days later. And now he's got full-blown Ebola, and he's in quarantine up in the Dallas hospital. So we have one case. How many more are there out there? Could this lead to an outbreak in the U.S. similar to what's going on in North Africa? Especially now that we have our soldiers put in harm's way to deal with this. Many of those soldiers are not medical personnel, and that's not their job to sit there and play nursemaid and hospital assistant. They're infantry personnel. Their job is to close with and destroy the enemy, and guard locations, etc. Yeah, even the hyperactive blue healer is agreeing with this one, if you guys can hear him. But a lot of questions there. Ebola now in the United States. Of course, the best way to avoid getting Ebola, well, the first best way is with a body condom, but really, folks, the best way is to avoid touching people who you aren't 100% sure aren't infected. And make sure you regularly wash your hands and face, especially before eating, when touching anything in a public area, whether it's a store or a public restroom, whatever. Wash your hands regularly, and all that good stuff. Standard good personal hygiene will go a long way in preventing the communication of this disease. It's passed through direct human contact, so it takes that contact. You're not going to get it just because you're sitting in the same room with it and they happen to cough. Well, you shouldn't get it. Still, you're supposed to cover your mouth and nose when you cough anyway. So, all those good things like you were supposed to learn in kindergarten: wash your hands and face regularly, don't cough on people, don't spit on people, cover your mouth and nose when you cough. When other people are not doing that, find a place to wash up quickly and get their bodily emissions off of you. All that stuff is the best way to prevent. But if this starts to outbreak, folks may want to look into investing in a couple of body condoms, because that's the way things are looking. And talking about diseases, there is a disease, a virus called the D68 enterovirus. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Somebody with a degree in microbiology, please phone in 520-226-8567 and tell me how to pronounce that word. But I'm seeing enterovirus, so I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's a respiratory virus. In other words, it affects your lungs and your pulmonary system and your breathing. But it hits kids the hardest, and it can cause respiratory failure, and it is also causing paralysis in kids. And so far, the hardest hit state with the outbreak is Colorado, but it is a nationwide outbreak. And there are concerns that this disease was communicated up, or brought up, vectored up, brought in with a lot of these unaccompanied kids that jumped over the border illegally over the summer. So that's one possible place where this originated and how it got here. But nevertheless, it's a pretty bad disease. It looks kind of like a bad cold, but as it continues on, it starts causing some really bad things, especially in kids. So again, cover the mouth and nose when you cough, wash your hands and face, don't go drinking out of other people's cups, etc., etc., etc. All those things you learned in kindergarten those personal hygiene things will keep you safe. Now, talking about communicable diseases, folks, and body condoms. Well, when you look at all these things, the Ebola now in Dallas, and now this D68 out there, and then you have all the other diseases and stuff floating around, like HIV and hepatitis, etc., 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 H1N1. That makes you really sit back and wonder if this is really a good time for the University of New Mexico to be hosting Sex Week. Yep, it's Sex Week at the UNM. So, okay, guys, you're looking to hook up, go ahead and start packing your stuff up and get on the road and get there quick. You just might get yourself lucky, especially those of you who are used to living in your basements, your parents' basements, and yelling at mom to make you a sandwich because you're in the middle of your World of Warcraft little adventure there, or little mish, and don't want to get up and make your own sandwich or go out and find a job. But, of course, those aren't the people that listen to the show, so I'm wasting my breath. But they may actually have a chance if they head to New Mexico and show up to the UNM for Sex Week. So what are they talking about at Sex Week? Well, they are talking about how to avoid sexual assault, how to re-educate men so that they're not sexual assaulters. Never mind that you're still going to have your person who's just not wired right in the brain, who's still going to treat women like they're objects and for their own personal gratification. They're still going to exist, folks. no matter how much you try to re-educate men. Because men who are gentlemen are going to be gentlemen anyway. They're raised right, and they're going to be that way. And then you have the ones who have their wires crossed. Your no little seminar at UNM is going to change their scrambled brain. So I don't see how it's going to help. But anyway, they're bringing up proper consent. Yes means maybe. Maybe means no. No means you touch me, I'm screaming rape. So, think about that, folks. Of course, they're not going to discuss how a woman can defend herself. Or maybe they are. It just wasn't on the list of things I saw. I mean, this is Colorado. Or no, this is New Mexico. If this were in Colorado, it would be pee all over a possible rapist and throw up on them, and maybe you'll stop them. But, the best way for a woman to defend herself is for them to pass campus carry and allow at least students over the age of 21 who legally have a concealed handgun license. Let them carry. In fact, open carry would be even better. A rapist isn't going to go after a woman who's wearing a .45 on her hip. He's going to think twice about it. So, he's going to think twice. Doesn't mean he necessarily won't, but he's going to think twice. He's going to look for somebody who isn't protected. But other things they're going to be talking about there, other than, how to re-educate men to still get laid but act like gentlemen. And somehow still manage to get themselves off the friend shelf. But they're also having great courses in how to solicit a three-way, how to properly engage in a three-way, how to perform oral sex, what to do about premature ejaculation, and all sorts of wonderful things. I just wonder if they're going to address Ebola transmission or D68 transmission between potential partners. Inquiring minds want to know. Dum, 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 dum. Heading back to good old Colorado, we have something that falls into two categories, folks. We have our liberal loonies category, which we've already addressed with talking about Wendy Davis and Battleground, Texas. But this also falls into the gun grabber, anti-Second Amendment, and pro-Second Amendment kind of stories that we try to bring out. Talking about people's wonderful right to defend themselves against various threats, defend their life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness against those who wish to take them by force. Well, in Colorado, of course, in the wake of Sandy Hook, decided to pass all those draconian violations of the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which the governor of Colorado, Governor Hickenlooper, has been very quick to support. In fact, he supports them so much that he has actually made recent statements where he seems to believe that the council of former New York Mayor Bloomberg somehow comprises a majority of citizens of his state, even though Bloomberg is not from Colorado, and he's one person. So this squawking minor bird who's tossing money at Hickenlooper is kind of influencing his rhetoric when it comes to that. Well, because of it, there's been a backlash in the polls, and by and large, most Colorado citizens, are not in support of these laws. In fact, they oppose them. They've already seen some of the businesses that were there pack up and say, screw this, and leave, like Magpul, who picked up and moved to Texas. Texas has gained, Colorado's lost. Then again, we have more pro-business policies down in Texas than Colorado does, so it was better for Magpul anyway. Better for Texas, too, because now we have even more people employed. But Hickenlooper really doesn't care what his constituents, what the members of his state think, because he has the majority voice of one person, Bloomberg, telling him, go ahead and, take the U.S. Constitution and emit all your bodily fluids all over it, as well as some solid waste products. It doesn't matter, because that's the U.S. Constitution. It doesn't matter to Colorado. And your voice and my voice, we're the majority, not the millions of people that live in our state who say, we don't agree with you. And that backlash in the polls is really making things look bad for Hickenlooper's re-election campaign.